Proverbs 31 woman, she has this down to a science. She makes money by understanding this law of giving and receiving. Proverbs 31 woman, she is an ultimate manifester, because that's what you are here for. That's what I'm here for. We're here to design and create the life of our dream. And this woman has manifested it all. And we're going to talk about how she did that. If this were 4,000 years ago, I have no doubt that you'd be following the Proverbs 31 woman on TikTok or Instagram. Because let's get real, many of the women that you admire today, the one whose lives seem to radiate fulfillment, power, and confidence, they're living in alignment with Proverbs 31 principles. But here's the twist. Being a Proverbs 31 woman isn't just about piety or modesty. This whole chapter, it's about what it really looks like to embody the life you dream of. And yes, it's what I like to call the it factor. It's really all about manifesting exactly what you want. And trust me, I've lived on both sides. I've been the it girl with the it factor, and I've also had times where I've lost the spark. And the only difference, my mindset. Once I realigned with Proverbs 31 principles, everything seemed to start getting right back in the right place. In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can step into this energy, not by conforming to the world, but by embodying Proverbs 31 woman principles. And no, this isn't about covering up or playing small. It's about stepping into your true power. So let's dive into what it really means to be an it girl through the lens of a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm going to get right over there on my whiteboard, and I promise you're never going to look at Proverbs 31 the same. You're going to see things that you've never noticed before. Let's have some fun. The reality is the Proverbs 31 woman is probably not who you think she is. I'm going to give you 5 key characteristics based on the scripture that the Proverbs 31 woman have. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that she does that everyone seems to be missing. Let's hop right into it. So Proverbs was written by King Solomon. In this chapter, he starts off by saying this is utterances of King Lemuel's mother. They're not really sure of who King Lemuel was. We know he was a king. His mother is giving him advice about how to be a king. So the first 10 verses in Proverbs 31, she's explaining to him what a king should do. I'm sorry, the first 9 verses. And then from verse 10 on, which is the majority of the chapter, she's describing a wife, a perfect wife for him. Who wouldn't want their mother, if you're a man, to tell you what type of wife you should go for? Of course, you should listen to your mother. And so the Bible is very descriptive about this woman. And so over the last couple of years, we've seen this surgence in people talking about Proverbs 31 women, what it means to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the context is very surface. And anything that you read in the Bible, you have to look deeper. Sometimes it's very simple. Actually, it's all very simple. You just have to look deep to see the simplicity of it. So first things first, on a very surface level, we're going to talk about her material things first. The things about a Proverbs 31 woman is that she is fit for a king. So she is very regal. She got it going on. Her head is held high. She has money. She has a man, which a lot of you want, right? Right now is a lot of gender wars going on. So she has a man. We're going to talk about this man in just a minute. She has staff, and then she has children who love her. She has staff who is very well taken care of. Let me be very clear. She has children who love her. Her children call her blessed. She even has a business. And she is a woman of God. I probably should have put it all the way up here. Not probably. I definitely should have put this all the way up here because she is a woman of God. The other thing about the Proverbs 31 woman is, y'all know I'm into fitness. So there are things in the scripture that imply that this woman was actually very fit. She took care of herself physically. And so as I paint this picture of the Proverbs 31 woman here in 2024, because we're going to do Proverbs 31 woman in 2025, the 2025 way. As I paint this picture, she reminds me of your favorite influencer who just has everything going on. And as I've read more and more into the story, I've realized that this picture that King Lemuel's mother is painting to her son about this woman, as well as about him, is really a story about manifestation. How can you manifest an amazing life? And so what I have gathered is that Proverbs 31 woman, she is an ultimate manifester. She is an ultimate manifester because that's what you are here for. That's what I'm here for. We're here to design and create the life of our dreams. And not saying that all of these things is what everyone will want, because some people don't want businesses. Some people don't want a man. They may want a woman. Some people don't want to have power in the form of being a woman fit for a king. Some people just have very little need for money. I don't believe that one. I think we all want abundance because it is our birthright. Some of us don't want children, but this is all about painting a picture and execute it and bringing it into this earthly realm of a very abundant, full life. And this woman has manifested it all. And we're going to talk about how she did that. So first things first is I want to talk about the 5 things that the Proverbs 31 woman has done to be able to be this powerful manifester in accordance with God as a co-author of her reality with God. So the first thing she does, it's hidden in the scriptures, is my favorite thing, is she is very intentional about how she chooses a man. And I want to first talk about this is because this is actually the first thing that's in the scriptures. The second reason why I want to talk about this is because I have come to a point in my life where I hold a very high standard. I have not always been that person. I hold a very high standard for who I date. And my reality has reflected that since it was a long process and a long process of me doing a big giant cleanse, a long cleanse. But I'm only telling you that because this is not coming from a place of judgment, but through friends and conversations with friends and hearing conversations online, I hear a lot of people talking about their experiences with men, but it all starts with the men that they allow themselves to be in the same place with. And before we even start talking about the woman, King Lemuel's mother first is telling him about what type of man he should be. So if you are looking at this chapter as a woman, you cannot skip over the fact that the man that you are supposed to be dating, it starts from that. Who do you want to date? Who do you want to partner with? Who do you want to marry? And then you back into that to decide who you want to become if you want to get married. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, it shouldn't always start with a man, so on and so forth. You're absolutely right. But sometimes in order to attract what you want, you have to be the person that would attract that thing. And so we will say that when it comes to business, hey, if you want a multi-million-dollar business, you have to be the person to attract the multi-million-dollar business. So the person that you become comes first. So you have to look at the thing that you want to attract and say, hey, I like that type of man. What type of woman does he attract? And then become that. But it first starts with identifying and dissecting the type of man that you want. A lot of times, if you will go about this in this step where you look at the type of man that you want, and then you say, hey, maybe I'll reverse engineer the role that I play here to be able to attract that type of man. If you decide to do that, and then you decide to go all in on becoming this person, and you really fall in love with this person, the man will just be a byproduct. So you won't even get, you'll start off that way, but you won't even get lost in that, because the reality is once you become this woman, anything that comes your way that is not to the standard that you want, you're like, hey, I created this being of myself, and I see that is not you. I created this being of myself. I've created this identity for a man that I just don't know yet. I've seen the type of man. I just haven't met him yet. And if someone comes your way and he is not that person, then you can say, hey, this person I've created, she's not for you. You have a good time, but she is not for you. And so that is a very safe place, in my opinion, to date from. That is how I date. I'm not perfect at it, but I've done it wrong a lot of times. And so got it right this time, hopefully. Okay, so let's talk about how she chooses a man. You can either hang on to everything I said or not, eat the meat, spit out the bones. But the reality is, in this chapter, the man is described first. So let's read it verbatim. Give not thy strength unto women. So the first thing is, if you are going to be a Proverbs 31 woman, the first thing is, don't date men that date a lot of women. We've all been there. We're like, oh, I like that guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Some of you may take it as a challenge. And I also want to speak to the men too, because there are some men who are hopefully watching this, and you may be thinking to yourself like, yeah, I be dating a whole lot of women and it's cool. But your queen, your Proverbs 31 queen, she's not going to hear that. She's not going to have that. Okay. She's going to be like, oh, I made myself into this amazing woman, and you are for this man and you are not it. All right. So the next thing that it says is, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine. For those of you who are like, I like alcohol. I like to get drunk. I like to get high. Hold on. She actually explains why. Nor for princes to drink strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law. So, as a Proverbs 31 woman, the type of man that you should be attracting is one who sets himself apart because he has a responsibility. He has a responsibility to remember the law. And this was written during the dispensation pre-Jesus of the Mosaic law. So they're specifically talking about the 10 commandments and the 613 laws that made up the Mosaic law, all the things that should and shouldn't be done, all that stuff written out in Deuteronomy. Okay. The law that Jesus came to fulfill is 613 laws. It's a lot to forget. And pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. So you can drink and pervert the judgment of someone who is in a very vulnerable state. We've all seen these stories where someone is drunk and they take advantage of someone who's in a vulnerable state. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish. Strong drink is for someone who doesn't necessarily like their life and they're ready to just like, I'm just trying to get through this thing. And wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. So let me be very clear. Proverbs 31 woman, remember, we're describing the man. Proverbs 31 woman, she doesn't date broke men. I don't care how broke you are. It's describing it right here. It says, let him drink and forget his poverty. His poverty. You, man, Proverbs 31 man, you're not poor. Open thy mouth for the dumb, and the cause of all such are appointed to destruction. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. He's a man full of character. So she's telling him, hey, you are separate from the commoners, but you are not to turn your nose up at them. You are to defend them. You are to be very protective of them. Someone who is poor, someone who is not happy, someone who is miserable. You are separate, but you are not here to turn your nose up at it. So this man has a lot of character. So that is the end of this chapter describing the man that the Proverbs 31 woman is supposed to be desiring. Hey, we want a man with high character. We want a wealthy man. We want a man that doesn't get drunk or get high or any of that. We want a man who does not chase after women. Okay? This sounds like a glorious man. Okay? All right. Now she says to her son, listen, this is the type of woman that you need to be on the lookout for. If you make yourself this type of man, this is the type of woman that you are going to attract. This is the type of woman that's going to be on your level. Essentially, this story is also about a power couple. But hold on, give me 1 second. Actually, I didn't even mean to go into this because we're still on number one. Proverbs 31 woman. The first thing is how she chooses a man. All in verses 1 through 9. Are you choosing a man that likes to sleep around? Are you choosing a man that likes to get drunk? Okay, let's talk about that because these are things we got to work out. 2025 is just a couple months away, and we're going to go into this thing strong. We are prepping. All right. You can do some of this stuff now for the end of 2024. The second thing is how she treats him. The scripture talks a great deal about how she treats this man. So the verses that we're going to look at are verses 11 and 12. 11, the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. So her husband can trust his heart to her. What does that mean? We've talked about what the heart represents. Your heart typically represents your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is kind of sometimes where all of the intrusive things lie, the things that you can't necessarily defeat at will, the things that rear its ugly head. So what I have seen is I've seen situations, and I'm sure that I've been guilty of this too, because no one is perfect, where a man may reveal something about himself that is very less than favorable, or he may show it in a way that is less than favorable. And the woman then becomes very attacking of that. She becomes very judgmental of it. But a Proverbs 31 woman is like, hey, listen, I love all of you. Hey, you've got this ugly thing. I got ugly things too, deep down in my subconscious. And you can trust me with it. I'm not going to judge you for it. The next verse says, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. That's a whole nother conversation. I don't feel like I even need to go into that, because we've all heard stories about women who do her husband bad. She is a burden. She can be just nagging. She can really do a lot of emotional damage, emotional and physical damage to him. But we already know a Proverbs 31 woman is not that. But it is important to note how she treats her husband. The next two verses that we're going to look at in terms of how she treats her husband is verse 23 and 24. Her husband is known at the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Oh, this one right here is the epitome of a power couple. I hope you see it before I explain it. This one helped me to really open my eyes to what this chapter is really all about. So it's basically saying, hey, he sitteth at the gates with the elders. Everyone respects him. He holds his head up high. But guess what? His woman is also doing business out in the public too. She doesn't embarrass him. That's what it's saying. She's doing business with men. She's selling her merchandise to the merchant. She's doing business with the merchants. These are the same people. You think that they don't all talk, and he's out in the public as well. And she is representing him very well. She carries herself respectfully. She is representing him so that when he's with the elders, he can still hold his head up high. And so she treats her man really, really well. All right, now let's get to now it's about us. Now it's about our business. The next thing that she does, another characteristics that the scripture talks about, is how she does business. How she does business. I saw this post on social media not too long ago, and I'm sure the person was completely ignorant, uneducated, and unstudied. It was a comment that someone else had made a post about, and they were saying, the person said, Christian women shouldn't do business or something like that. Like Christian women should just sit at home and they're not supposed to do business. The reality is Proverbs 31 woman, she was a whole entire businesswoman. And so we're going to look at the scriptures that describes how she does business. The first verse is 13. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. So I want to put a note here because the scripture talks a lot about hands. She works with her hands. Just remember that. That's important. The next verse is verse 18. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. So this is all about confidence. And she does not have imposter syndrome. So all of you women who have imposter syndrome and you have imposter syndrome about your business, your merchandise, whatever it is, I have been there. That is not a Proverbs 31 woman. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Now, this next scripture, I could probably talk about this for, I don't know, at least 2 hours because this ties into some other scriptures. But this next verse is her candle, or it's within the same verse. Her candle goeth not out by night. What does this mean? On a metaphorical level, what happens when we go to sleep? Typically, especially if we are having a business or we're starting a new venture, we are a bit unsure about what it is that we do. During the daytime, we are super confident, we are super locked in. And then at night, that's when the worry and the confusion and the stress sets in. When the worry and confusion and stress sets in at night, your candle is going out by night. This scripture is saying she perceives that her merchandise is good. She does not change her mind about it. She does not lay her head down in her bed and stress about it. She is certain that her merchandise is good. She is very unwavering about it. I know. She a whole vibe. I know. She is the bomb. Okay. All right. The next verse that talks about how she does business is verse 27. She looketh well to the ways of her household. She eateth not the bread of idleness. This one for me is relatively easy, right? Like she takes care of her business. She takes care of the people who takes care of her. She takes care of the people who takes care of her business. And she's never just sitting around doing nothing. So for those of you who desire this life where it's like, oh, I just want to go on this eternal vacation and I just want to do nothing. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks. But Proverbs 31 woman, she doesn't do that. She does not consume the bread of idleness. She's always doing something productive. I love that about her. Y'all know I'm all about spiritual productivity. That's why we're here, because my brand is spiritual productivity. This woman, she's productive. She gets stuff done. She's not sitting around doing nothing. She's not looking to her husband to do so that she may do nothing. She's not looking to find a business so that she can do nothing. She is here to get stuff done and take care of things and be very productive. That is how she does business. I want to stress that there is a time for rest as well. You gotta rest. This is not about making yourself busy for the sake of being busy. This is about being productive. Being busy and being productive are two different things. All right. Okay. That's how she does business. Then the next thing that we're going to talk about with the Proverbs 31 woman is how she invests. That's different than how you do business. This woman invests. I know she got it going on, don't she? She got it going on. Okay. Let's talk about it. In verse 16, it's one of my favorites. It says, she considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands, she planteth a vineyard. Remember, I told you, we're going to talk about hands. We're going to come back to that. So she considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. I love this so much. Y'all don't understand. So she does business where she sells wool and flax or whatever it is to the merchants. Oh, girdles and stuff to the merchants. Okay. And then she also takes that. It literally says, with the fruit of her hands, she planted a vineyard. She considers a field and buys it. She invests with the fruit of her hands. So with her hands, this is how she does business. The fruit of her hands. What are the fruit of her hands? The money that she makes from the work she does with her hands. And she plants a vineyard. So she takes the money that she makes from her hands. She takes that, and that money works for her. I know. So this money works for her. The language is very specific for a reason. It talks about, hey, she does this with her hands, and with the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. So she is not out there planting the vineyard. She don't have no problem with doing work, but she is not out there planting the vineyard herself. She's over here doing this business. Oh, okay, I made some extra money. I'm investing it. You got money, the fruit of my hands. You're going to do the work. I know. I know. So, for those of you who have 9-to-5 jobs and you're not investing your money, you're not a Proverbs 31 woman. This is where we fall short. Remember, I started off by saying that we all fall short of being this super bomb dope woman. If you have a business and you are not investing your money, you're scared to invest your money. Your business that you are doing day to day, that's not the investment that you plant with your vineyard. You take that money, you take a portion of that and you invest it somewhere else and you plant your vineyard and let that money make money for you. These are all concepts that I know they're not new to you, but what I want you to know is that they're all in the scripture. Like your next internet guru is suggesting you do these things, but King Lemuel's mom is telling you to do it. And Solomon thought it was so important that he wanted to do it too. Okay, or he was looking for that type of woman too. Let's look at the other scripture that talks about how she invests. Give her the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. So listen, I did all this work with my hands. I want my fruit from my hands. And my own works from that I've done with my hands, that's going to praise me at the gates. Not necessarily the investment. The investment is going to do its thing, but the stuff that I do with my hands. So it's also saying, hey, don't just invest, because that's not what you're going to get the praise for at the gates. What you're going to get the praise for is the stuff that you do with your hands. But so some of you are just like, I just want to invest. I don't want to work. No. You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do. But I'm just telling you, if you want to be a Proverbs 31 woman, a person who is really skilled at manifesting, no. It's important to be able to work in your purpose. That's why I started the Goggles and Money Accelerator, Income Accelerator. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you don't have enough time to work on your business, whether you're a full-time or a part-time entrepreneur, you don't have enough time in a day to actually grow your business, I should say. You're working in the business, but not on the business, then you want to make sure that you sign up for my next webinar where I go through the 4 phases to automate your income. The link is below. You will thank me later. Just join the free webinar. It's all type of game. Okay. So these are the 4 things that she does differently. There are a bunch of other really cool gems in here, but I want you to remember these things. And I want you to think about her as a influencer who's got it going on. I don't want you to think about her and pedestalize her and make it be like, oh, she is this super pious woman, which she very well may be. She's not perfect, but she is a great manifester. And these are the things that she does. I do want to talk about one other thing that she does and that she really seems to understand that I love about her. And this is something that we as women, we are very, very gifted at, and it is the ability to be able to balance the flow of giving and receiving. Men are more givers, women are receivers, but I think a lot of times people forget that we are also very strong givers as mothers as well, as partners as well. So I think we have a little bit more balance. This is just my opinion. We have a little bit more balance than men, and whether we have more balance than men or not, that again, that's part is my opinion. Proverbs 31 woman, she has this down to a science. So we're going to talk about how she makes sure that she makes money and she sustains her household by understanding this law of giving and receiving. Let me be clear. I don't like saying, oh, this law, that law, this law, that law. Because we can make up a law for anything and say it's a law. Oh, it's a law of daylight savings time. and say it's a spiritual law, and find some scripture that halfway supports it and say it's a law. I don't want to say that. But she really seems to understand this principle of giving and receiving and making sure that you keep the flow going in your life. So one of the scriptures that I really appreciate in Proverbs 31 is all about giving. I like to highlight this idea about giving and receiving because chances are, if there is a blockage, you're experiencing some sort of scarcity, you don't have enough money, something is missing in your life. It may not be money, it might be a certain aspect of your life is missing, is because you're not respecting this principle enough, and there is a blockage. And we typically have an issue with one or both of these areas. I have been in each of these areas, and I've been in none of these areas. I know exactly what it feels like, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So if you have an issue in the area of giving, most of the time people think that an issue about giving has more to do with this scarcity mindset of like, hey, I don't want to give because I'm afraid that it won't come back to me. That can be the case. But chances are, because you're a good person, that's not the case with you. I know that if someone in your family just asked you to give something, you would give it to them. So you're wondering to yourself, like, why is it that I am very generous, but it's not coming back to me the way that I think it should be coming back to me? It's because giving and receiving is not just about the act, it's about the state of mind that you're actually doing it in. And so if you are giving from a place of just only generosity, you're not fully getting the benefits of this cycle. There is another component of it that 9 times out of 10, this is what your issue is. The state of mind that you have to give in is a state of mind where you know you are a blessing. Now you may be thinking, oh, for sure, I am a blessing. Let me clarify. I want to talk to you about, I can't even remember if I did a Bible study about this or if I talked about this on this channel, about the story of Job. I want to keep this super short and sweet. For those of you who don't know, the story of Job is all about this man who was righteous and upright. There was a wager between God and Satan about whether we can break this man or not. And the actual words that they use, that Satan says, hey, if you allow me to hurt him, he's going to curse you to your face. And so we kind of graze over what that means, to curse God. The reality is you can't curse God. And the one thing that Job did not do, that God knew that he wouldn't do, was blame himself. When we take on a lot of guilt and shame, we curse God. We curse the God within ourselves. We curse ourselves. And so the opposite of cursing is blessing. And so if we're taking guilt and shame and we say, hey, I'm a bad person. Hey, this is so messed up about me. I am really, really messed up. What is the opposite of cursing? The opposite of cursing is saying, I'm the bomb. I am a really, really dope person. I got it going on. Everything around me got it going on. That is how you bless someone or something. We open our mouths to bless God. When we think about that, we're saying, God, you are amazing. You are the bomb. You are omnipotent. And you are the Alpha and the Omega. God, we are blessing him. Okay? And so when you give, you have to give from a state of being a blessing. This is really all about confidence. So if you're giving from a place where you lack confidence, but you're giving out of generosity because you do genuinely like, okay, I ain't worried about this. You got this. You're not getting the full benefit of giving. When you give, you have to give from a place where you are a blessing. You are blessing yourself. You are blessing the thing that you're giving. You're blessed. You can't bless the thing that you're giving if you don't think that you're a blessing enough to bless it. Hey, pretend this is bread, because I'm just been doing a lot of reading about Jesus feeding the 5,000. So he breaks the bread, blesses it, speaks a blessing. It says it in a couple different ways, speaks a blessing. If I don't think I'm a blessing, I cannot break this and give it to you and bless this so that it can bless you. How can I bless this thing if I don't think I'm a blessing? So it starts off by you understanding and having confidence that God in you. Remember, Abraham didn't curse the God in him. The God in you, having confidence, and you can speak it. I'm going to give you this $10,000 right now. I am the bomb. I did a great job of earning it. Here you go. I did a great job of earning it. I can make some more. I'm the bomb. Here you go. I hope that this blesses you the way that it blessed me. This is where we mess up with the giving. We don't give from a mindset of being a blessing. Now, let's break this down to the Proverbs 31 woman. I get my phone back. Let's look at verse 20 and verse 18. Verse 20 says, she stretched out her hand to the poor. Yea, she stretched forth her hand to the needy, because she knows she's a blessing. 18, she perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. I left out another one where it says, her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. She knows she's the bomb. She's confident. If you are not a confident woman, you cannot be a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm going to say it again. If you are not a confident woman, not only in your own capabilities, if you are not a confident woman in the God in you, you cannot be a Proverbs 31 woman. When you curse yourself, you are cursing the God in you. When you have low self-esteem, you are saying, hey, God, you made me. You didn't do a good job of making me. I'm in your image. I know. Pick your jaw up off the floor. We got more work to do. Okay? All right. The other thing about this woman that keeps her household paid and keeps money in her pocket is receiving. Some of you can't receive because you feel like if you receive, that's putting somebody else in a bad position. You feel like if you receive, then you're inconveniencing someone. If you feel like if you receive, then I don't know. Some of y'all just got doozies done to y'all when y'all was a kid. I ain't perfect, but I'll be honest with you, this is not an issue where I can receive just fine. You know what? That's not true. There have been times when I felt like I couldn't receive. Actually, I'm tripping. I'm working on that in a particular specific area in my life right now. I'm not ready to let me overcome it, then I'll share it. Okay. Let me overcome it first. But receiving, you struggle with receiving. Now, you may think that struggling with receiving is a state of being humble, but it's not. I'm going to tell you what struggling with receiving is. Struggling with receiving is really an indication of a lack of gratitude. Because if you can't receive, you can't be grateful. You have to receive something already from a state of gratitude. You can't receive it if you already don't anticipate the gratitude. So if you're struggling with receiving something, it's because you have a mindset of a lack of gratitude. I know. I'm going to show y'all at a later date how I really, really fully understood this. I told you I've been reading about Jesus feeding the 4,000 and the 5,000. I'm going to do another Bible study on it. That's like 12th grade level Bible study. Like right now we at like 6th grade level Bible study. No, maybe we had 10th grade. No, 9th grade Bible study. We're in 9th grade right now. That's like 12th grade Bible study. I don't know if y'all gonna be ready for it. It's definitely in my income accelerator, my God Goals and Money income accelerator. If you do want to find out about the accelerator, go down to the link below. You can learn about the 4 phases in the free webinar. You don't even have to pay for anything. Learn about it in the free webinar. All right, come on. Let's reel it back in. You not being able to receive comes from a state of a lack of gratitude. Period, point blank. If you had gratitude, then you can receive. Why would you need gratitude if you're not receiving? You have a mindset that you don't want to be grateful. We get stuck in not being grateful, so much so that we can't receive. This is why gratitude is important. Let's look at the verses in which Proverbs 31 woman shows that she can receive. Verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in the time to come. What are you rejoicing in if you can't be grateful? Rejoicing is all about gratitude. She knows that she's going to rejoice, so she can receive because she knows that she's going to rejoice in the time to come. I know. So what I want you to see is about Proverbs 31 woman and even Proverbs 31 man. It's not about the actions you take. It's about the mindset that you take these actions from. You can give and receive all you want, but if you're not in the right state of mind, then you will not be able to manifest all the things that this woman set out to manifest. And before we go, I do want to give you a real quick bonus about the Proverbs 31 woman. Y'all know I'm all into fitness, even though I don't know what I did over the past couple of days. I gained 3 pounds and I feel like, I hope y'all not looking at me judging it, but I'm going to have it shaken off by the next time we meet. But like I said, Proverbs 31 woman, she probably had a banging body. She was the ultimate influencer. If she was around right now, she would have 10 million followers on Instagram. She just had everything going on. All right, let me show you the scripture. She girdeth her loins with strength, and she strengtheneth her arms. She was strong. She worked out. Period, point blank. She girdeth her loins with strength, and she strengtheneth her arms. She wore workout clothes, and when you gird your loins, it looked like workout clothes from back in the day. And she strengtheneth her arms. She took care of her body. Okay. One other thing that it says about her, I'm just going to continue to lay this idea in your mind that she was an it girl, right? Another thing is, I do have a class that's in my accelerator called the It Factor. It's really all about this. Have you ever noticed those people who have the it factor? They just do well all the time. It's all about the mindset that you take your actions from. And that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. If you're in my accelerator, you have access to this. Actually, one of the bonuses, but we'll talk about that later. The other thing I do want to point out to you, she maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. She was fly. She dressed nice. So for those of you who feel bad that you like nice clothes and you think that is wasteful, or you feel bad, like you got it going on at work, you're making some good money, the business is doing good, and you buy stuff and then you feel bad. No. Proverbs 31 woman, she was dripped out. Okay. All right. I love y'all. Until next time, I will see you soon.